Welcome to the Learn to Code podcast. Today I have a special guest. It's Kenny Kline. You may not know the name, but likely you know his brands. If you've ever shopped for a mattress online, well, likely you've read one of his reviews. He is the managing partner at Jack Media here in New York City. It's a company that runs a few different brands, such as Barbend, Security Baron, and Sleepopolis. Across their sites, they have 4 million visitors, tens of millions of YouTube views, and Kenny is not in any of the videos. He is the man behind the scenes, and today we are going to learn his greatest and best tricks for becoming a content marketing guru, as well as his story of learning to code. Kenny, what's up?
Glad to be here.
So glad you're here. Kenny, what do you do?
That's a good question. My wife always tells me I have the worst answer to this. So, it's just people at cocktail parties that just stare at me. But generally what I always say is it's a niche media company where we look for passionate audiences and give them awesome content. So passionate might mean Barbend, which is really serious weightlifters, CrossFitters, that type of person that just want more and more of that content, or a mattress shopper where they're really into this purchase for a month or two, and then maybe after that they don't want to hear from us ever again after they buy it. But they're passionate for those 2 months. So that's kind of loosely how we define the type of content that we create and the type of audience that we're trying to reach.
That's great. You probably know how I refer to you to my friends when people ask what you do. I say he's the number one mattress reviewer on the internet.
That is true.
That is true.
Yeah.
and so that's your one brand. And the other one you just mentioned, Barbend, it's CrossFit gear or kind of like gym gear. Am I saying this right? This is I'm translating what I think it is. So you tell me.
There's no gear. We don't sell anything, but we are more like a news organization. So we cover CrossFit, we cover Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting. So, and to you and a little bit to me when I started, those all sound like the same things. But if you're really deep into that world, it's weightlifting's totally different than powerlifting, they have this tension even sometimes. And that's the type of voice that we have is we get it. We're with you. And while I didn't quite get it, my co-founder and the writers that we have brought on and the people that write on the site are obviously very well versed in this type of content. So that's kind of my role, as I'm the founder, the tech, the marketing, that type of thing. And then the people on the site are the people that really know their stuff and can relate and participate with their audience.
That's a really good answer. So Kenny, your journey's been amazing to watch because I've seen you start from about 2 people in a closet in Midtown New York to a team of, to be more specific, a shoe factory.
A shoe factory, yeah.
In Midtown New York. To a 30-person team in Dumbo, Brooklyn, and in Austin. You have a really big team, and you're getting millions of views, and things are blowing up. So I want to learn the secrets. I want to know, what we can get in this episode that you can teach us about content marketing, because you are the person I always turn to for advice on how to make really good content. And I don't know, just all the tools and tricks and there's so much noise out there and cutting through that. So that's really what I want to talk to you about today. Before we get to all that, I just want to go back and hear, how did you guys get started?
Sure.
How did you know that this was a good idea, doing mattress reviews?
Yeah, well, this wasn't my first company. So I had a few kind of successes, a number of failures along the way, or false starts at least. But this one specifically, I was in business school.
You were at Columbia Business School.
I was at Columbia, and I met my partner there, and he had...
Your business partner, right?
My business partner, yeah. And he had spent 3 or 4 months. Yeah. He had spent 3 or 4 months at a mattress online startup before business school. Just kind of he was an accountant. He wanted to try something else. He went to this startup.
And this is Joe.
This is Joe Auer, yeah, who is the face of Mattress Clarity. He is in the videos.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's great. And so we were sitting there in business school, racking our brain, and I told him about my background, where I'd started some of these other content sites previously as I was learning content marketing. And he knew this mattress thing. We're let's check out the mattress review space, because he knew at the time there was really 1.5 mattress reviewers on the internet, because people didn't buy mattresses on the internet, if you can believe that, back in the day. This was 2013, 2013, 2014.
Before Casper. Maybe Casper was one of the first big breakout.
Right.
matches.
And there were a couple of companies before that. It just wasn't like this thing that dominated every podcast and every Subway ad and like took over the world, you know? So Casper was a big part in just pushing a lot of the industry online. And we ended up launching just 3 or 4 months before them. And so we had a lot more success just because a lot of people were turning to online to make their mattress decision. But we were sitting there and like we saw the market had very low competition. No one was doing a really good job online. And so we're like, oh, why don't we take a stab at this? And that was our first site that we created. And from there, we kept building on that website as well as started a few others. Some of those persist. Some of those we ended up cutting along the way. But that was like the whole impetus was like his experience and my experience put together. And like, well, that's the obvious thing that we should do.
So when Joe came to you and he said, hey, mattress reviews online could be a big business, and you guys are in business school, which I haven't been to the business school, but I teach there, can say that like not many students are talking about doing mattress reviews. They're usually talking about doing like C-suite work, like the company and like bank or, finance and all this kind of stuff. So how did it sound to say we're going to start doing reviews of mattresses, and where was the money in that?
Yeah, I mean, how
was it a business?
Yeah, well, everyone thinks we are ridiculous probably to this day. And I had a standing offer from a consulting firm that everyone knows and that everyone in business school wants to go to, or a lot of people do. And so they're like, Kenny, what are you doing with your life? Like, you're throwing it all away. And I was like, no, this is a serious opportunity. And in the weird, contrarian entrepreneur sort of way, except it's about mattress reviews. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to build this veggie burger and it's going to replace meat. It was like, I'm going to review mattresses on the internet, and no one got behind it.
It still sounds crazy. I know it's working.
Yeah. It sounds crazy. And so we lost a lot of respect of my classmates probably, and even just Columbia Business School, they have a lot of programs for entrepreneurs, and they just didn't let Joe and I in because they're like, this seems dumb, we want Warby Parker for some other industry, not this weird business that you have. So it was a struggle the first year, especially because we didn't really have Columbia's support. But we ended up making it through, and
Well, can you break down and kind of reveal, behind the curtain how a mattress review site, or really any review site, makes money? I'm thinking we're talking about affiliate programs. Is this the main way?
Yeah, affiliate's a big part of our business, and there are other ways as well.
Can you describe just first off what is an affiliate program?
Yeah, so affiliate is essentially you're on our website, and you're reading one of our reviews or reading one of our recommendations, and if you click through and go to a retailer's site, let's say you go to Lisa's.com's website or Casper's.com site or whatever mattress company, if they make a purchase, there's a software that tracks this, and they give us the credit for helping with that purchase. And so we get kind of like a commission is what you call it.
If you help Casper sell a mattress, if you put up a review and someone clicks on it and then buys a Casper mattress, how much money roughly do you get back for that?
It's usually a percentage basis, so it varies for every company. And it's always variance. So there's affiliates very, very common on the internet for all types of products these days. So for physical products, because they're generally lower margin, you'll probably get 5 to 10% commission.
Like a watch, or what's a physical product?
Like anything, like a table or sheets or a guitar or
all these people on YouTube that do maybe unboxings or these kind of
so they might be doing TV affiliate programs,
or something,
anything
like that,
or even a Blue Apron or something like that.
Yes.
But it's there's something physically that you have to get, which costs money, right? So the percentages are generally lower because they have to actually send this product to the customer that buys. But digital is a big part of it as well, where it's if I'm selling an ebook or a course at 1 month or whatever, for every additional course that you sell, it doesn't cost any money to you because you already made the course, right? So you can pay 50%, 75%, whatever for a course and still make money, still make a profit because it's not costing you any, a little bit of customer support, this and that, whatever. But but it's different compared to like a physical product. So all that to say, the percentage, it's generally percentage that you receive, and it generally varies a lot based just on the margins of the industry.
And I think this is a new idea for some people, and for some, I can imagine some people listening are thinking, okay, I totally know this, but I was talking to my dad. I was telling him about what you do, and he was just blown away by the way because he was asking me where I got my mattress. And I was right. Kenny reviewed it and gave it to me.
Yeah, you got a good one.
I got a really good, got a fancy mattress. I was really good about it. And I was explaining him that story, and I went into this whole 40-minute conversation about how affiliate marketing works. And sometimes I think, oh, I take that for granted. And so just to give like a visual to anyone listening, affiliate marketing, and Kenny helped me think through this, but it's, if you ever see like a link, and at the end of the link, there's either like /Casper, /1 month, or there's like a question mark, and there's some kind of variables. Like usually at the end of a link, or there's like anyway, so if you see a link that's like not a direct link, it's not like Casper.com, and there's usually other stuff around it, that's probably a dead giveaway that it at least could be an affiliate link.
Yeah.
Would you say
and
that?
And these days it's very, very common. Like you'll see this in most of the major news publications are doing it. Many bloggers and review sites, and it's pretty much the best way to make money online now, in my opinion. At least as a media site, unless you're selling like your own product or your own course or something. And so it's very, very common. So it's likely that you'll see some sort of tracking link or something associated with it as well.
Or I think another way you see it sometimes is when I ride the New York City subway, I'll see it's like just like type in Casper at checkout. Would that be an example of affiliate link?
Well, it's not a link, but they can track using coupon codes. And so that's a way that some people will do it as well. It's like, oh, you used Kenny's coupon code, so Kenny gets the credit type of thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Or I guess in that case, Casper, for example, who is still all over the New York City subway, they're probably just tracking which ads convert well, so that they know.
They use it as a tracking tool.
As well.
Yeah. So they're not paying the subway, I assume, for every sale, but it's like, oh, they want to see how effective their marketing is. And the same for affiliates. So if you have a bunch of coupon codes that you send out and people use them, they're like, oh, this affiliate has influence and can drive sales.
Nice. So when you were getting started out with this, would you say it was an affiliate business, at the time, or a content marketing business? Like, how would you have described it back then?
I think back then, we still call it niche media, because the goal really is to provide great content and get traffic. And what we do with them after that, there's a variety of things. In terms of monetization and just in terms of getting them to re-engage with us. So we're really more about serving the customer and from there you can figure out monetization or serving the reader. So affiliate initially was the biggest way that we monetized, and now we've diversified for a variety of reasons. We'll do sponsored content. We're launching some of our own courses on the sites. We have standard ads on the sites, a variety of things just to monetize in different ways.
Wow. What are some skills that someone might need if they want to start a niche media or content marketing business?
It's becoming easier and easier. I think the number one skill is patience, honestly, where you just have to, it's kind of like, in my opinion, podcasting. You know more about it than I do, but it's getting a lot easier to make a great podcast episode in terms of like all the tools that you use, right? And you need to invest in the content, but it's more like you have to keep making podcasts over a year, 2 years to like build your audience and build your credibility and that type of thing. And it's no different in affiliate marketing, where if you blog a lot for 2 months and then never do it again, you're not going to be successful. You're more like if you put up a blog post a week for the next 3 years, I bet you have some level of success. And there are obviously, we're very intentional and professional about it. But that's the core competence you have to have, is like, I'm in this for the long haul. And I think our success is because that was our premise, is that we are going to have a long-term outlook and build our sites to be successful. And every month we want to get bigger and better and keep growing the sites versus like trying to do some sort of gold rush and capture everything within 3 months, or like push really hard for 6 months and then slow down. Like we've been consistently growing over the last 5 years, and not as quick as some people that like do a mad rush, but that consistency has paid off over time.
That's really interesting. So let's talk about how to choose a topic, because over the time that I've known you, you're bringing up some really good points. Like, it's not only, we talk about these things that have become really successful for you, these niches that you found, but you've tried a lot of different ones. I'm going to name them and we can edit it out.
All right.
You don't want me to say these things, but
let's throw them out there.
Coffins.
Yes.
We try to
yes.
As well as, let me think, maybe yarn was one. I'll stop there.
I heavily researched yarn, or knitting rather.
Or knitting was one.
Yeah, and crafts in general.
There was a whole list, and I'm going to stop there because maybe some other ones you're still brewing on them. But how do you choose what is going to be a good niche? Like, and I just want to elaborate a little bit more on that. Like, there's, if you're entering a niche like learning to code or something, like, there's lots of people out there like already learning to code.
Yeah.
How do you, like, is it okay to enter into something where there's already a lot of content, or do you look, like, what signals do you look for to decide? Because you only have so much time. You can pick a few and see which one floats. You're saying it takes time, give it patience, but how do you pick those initial kind of bets on like what might be a good business?
Yeah, so I think my perspective on that has definitely changed, where and it's because the market has changed as well, where initially I would look for like some products or some collection of products that were really good, and now I look for big audiences that I can really grow. And so I think Barbend is the best example of that, where Barbend's like a strength sports website. So in terms of products that we recommend, it's a lot of different things. It's like supplements, it's different gear, it's different courses, and what I just said there covers like, an absurd amount of product reviews and because there's so many supplements, so many products, so many courses that you can recommend. And so we look for that core audience, and we're like, where can we just keep growing the audience and keep expanding the products that we cover, where even like 4 or 5 years ago, people had a totally different perspective on this, and they were like, oh, you should just find a really specific product or site and like be the master of that. Well, someone sent me one today, which I thought was hilarious. It was toilet reviews. And the names are just hilarious. It was like flushguide.com and like toilet.net and like
all these exist already.
Yeah, I was looking at all the competitors. They're all affiliate sites.
Are you reviewing just like the seat? Like, what do you actually review? The flush tone?
Yeah. Well, I'm not doing this, to be clear, but like
in Japan, you have like all these like electronic toilets and bidets and.
Well, that's why someone sent it to me, because our security site it's doing a lot of smart home stuff, and they're like, oh, you should throw some smart toilets in there. And I love those Japanese toilets. Everyone knows about me.
Everybody loves
yeah, they're amazing.
Musical toilets.
Yeah. So people are doing it in every different industry, but like if you put all this effort into a toilet site, it's like, even if you're number one for toilets, it's like, all right, where do you go from there? How do you keep building on this? And it's like, well, if you initially made it at least a bathroom site, then you have somewhere to go, or like more likely like a home furnishing site would make more sense.
I guess what I'm wondering is, we're talking about toilets, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, the main way to make a business out of this is to have, like, do you have to find a toilet company, or like does there have to be how do you say, like a rich, like, kind of competitive landscape of toilet companies that have affiliate codes that then you can like link to? Because right now I'm like, where do you get a toilet? Like I go to Home Depot. Like, I don't see the link between how that becomes a business.
So those companies, I don't know about Home Depot specifically, or like if Kohler has one of their own affiliate programs, but there's always somewhere you can send the traffic.
Really?
With an affiliate program. Like Amazon has a very robust affiliate program.
But I've heard they don't give you much like return.
The percentage has gotten lower, but
you can make a business doing Amazon affiliates.
Yeah, if you have enough traffic, and it depends on how much you want to make. If you're some guy at home doing a part-time toilet site and you're sending all your traffic to Amazon, it's probably a nice supplemental income, I would bet. If you're like trying to grow a really big business with employees and that, sending toilet traffic to Amazon probably wouldn't get you that far. Mm-hmm. Not to say, I would definitely take flushguide.com and put it in my portfolio if and boost it up. But starting from scratch, it's like it takes the same amount of work initially to build flushguide.com and a general home site. And then after you get to a certain point, the home site you can keep expanding, and the flush site you're kind of stuck with.
I see. So you're saying like, look for things that have, I guess, different verticals or like satellites that you can kind of branch out into.
Yeah.
Is this main
and the term that we use is like authority sites, or it's like I'm an authority in this concept, and so I'm going to apply my expertise to a subcategory. So it's like, hey, Barbend, we're experts in weightlifting, so we're going to show you we're experts in squat rack reviews, and we're experts in whey protein, and we're experts in this type of online course. And so we're using our strength expertise to review and promote different products that we like, versus like finding one of those products and making a whole site about that.
If I were to go to Barbend right now, for the first time, let's say if someone's listening, if I go there, will I get a sense of what it takes to make a great content site? Are there things that I can look for and go, okay, this is what Kenny's doing really well, whether it's watching your videos, whether it's, seeing, like, are there things that I'm looking for that I can then learn and apply to other industries?
Yeah, there's a lot there. And we're very, very intentional about what we do, and there's multiple layers to it. So, well, let me just throw out a bunch of stuff. Tell me what sounds interesting. Yeah, because we do a lot of stuff. One is our content's very thorough. It's timely. We do a lot of news for the industry. When you say it's timely, are we talking? Does that mean it's evergreen, or when you say news, is it reactionary to like events? Because I think those are two different kinds of approaches. We do both of those together.
Okay, so you both.
Yeah. Our content, great original photography, a lot of original videos. So we're trying to really grow our YouTube presence as well. You'll see a lot of like medical studies and quotes from people in the industry. So we're not just like the only authority. We're referencing, people that comment for us, or people that review our content even for some of this stuff. Like, hey, we're reviewing this whey protein. Here's what a nutritionist says about whey protein and like how you should incorporate it in your diet, that type of thing. So we treat the content very, very seriously, and that's what set us apart. And that in the strength sports industry, there are not too many companies that do that. Like there's like Men's Health, which I think does a great job with their content, but it's also like very, very broad, not as specific as us. And then there's a lot of bloggers out there that are not professional journalists. I enjoy reading their stuff, but it's not like professional, in a journalist type of way. And so that's where all of those things we hope come across. And then there's also things like site speed and our email list and like the entire UX experience that we hope is very good for people as well.
What platform do you use to build out your sites?
Everything's just WordPress.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But we do a lot of work on, it's not like we just do a WordPress install and then put it on top. We do a lot of optimization around that. Generally, we like to have a really lightweight theme. We use GeneratePress as the one that we really like. And it's just so light, and we end up customizing a lot of stuff on top of it.
And I know you know how to code.
Yes.
What kind of coding languages did you learn or do you use on the job?
So these days I don't code myself at all. I was always an okay coder when I started, never a great one. When it came to web stuff, I studied physics in undergrad, and so I was a pretty good statistical coder, where I was doing like Fortran, if you know what that is, or like MATLAB or Stata or R eventually. And so I went to work at Bank of America, and I was doing a lot of that statistical coding in San Francisco. And so while I was there, I picked up kind of the front end stuff and the database management, which SQL I knew very, very well, but the SQL.
Where did you learn SQL? In business school or?
In physics as well. We
use
physics.
In SQL, you use SQL in physics.
Yeah, I mean, data analysis is what we were doing in.
What's an example of like a case where you would use SQL? Like, what are you searching through the data for in physics?
In physics, so you get so much data when you're doing experiments and that type of thing. So I did a few summer jobs where, hey, let's hit this diode with this and measure it, and like it just spews data, and it's like you're looking for trends in the data essentially.
Spewing diodes.
Yeah. And so
great summer.
SQL at that point was more used. I at least used it. I'm not master physicist by any means. I used it to kind of organize the data and then would analyze it with something else. And I went and became a quant at a bank, and there I was using SQL a lot just because the databases are so big where it's like, hey, here's all the credit card transaction data and like for the last 10 years for everybody. And it's like, try to figure out who's going to default next month, you know? And so it's just so much data that I was piling through. So that was like my real coding experience, was like dealing with that data. It was before the term like data science even existed, where I was like, who's ever going to use this stuff? You know, this weird bank. And like now it's like the hot thing. Like I should have just kept doing that. I would have been.
Yeah, you would have been fine.
Would have been great. Yeah.
And you said you do some front end stuff, so you were doing some HTML, CSS, JavaScript.
Yeah. I learned PHP. I actually just bought a book. Yeah. It was pre 1 month, so I literally bought like some.
I don't know when that time was.
PHP for Dummies or something like that.
Yeah.
And learned how to code that way. So like I said, I was always fine. I built original sites.
Does it come up in your? You said you don't do it day to day now. Are there times either when you were starting the company or maybe now when you're talking with your team, or how does your ability to learn to code, if at all, come up in in starting a business?
Oh, it's incredibly useful. Just because I'm not the one hitting the keys, and I don't review every line of code or anything, but I know how to talk to everybody about what they're working on. I know what's possible to do, what's not. And just like analyzing other sites, I'll look at the source code a lot of time and see what they're doing, just more from a marketing perspective, even sometimes than
that's interesting.
Because a lot of people are on WordPress.
Like you want to like look under and see like if there's do not follows or follow links and all this kind of stuff. You need to look at the HTML code to be able to do that. I mean, it's not the only way, but it's an easy way to do it.
Yeah, that's the way I end up doing it.
That's the first thing that came to mind for marketing. Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, so it's super useful, and like these days, I'm sure I've become a worse coder because once you switch to WordPress, the need for coding drops off, at least coding core stuff. But just the knowledge and the mindset is incredibly useful. Where like, and you and I talked a lot about this in the last few months. We were both like really trying to optimize the speed of the site, of both of our sites.
Right, because speed is directly linked to how well your search engine juice, showing up in Google. Google cares about site speed. And you can do a test and you can look at a tool and see site speed.
Exactly. So we were like doing as much as we could, and you were doing the same as well. So we traded notes, but a lot of that it's not like you're coding, but you have the knowledge of how the site works. So we're like, oh, I'm delaying the loading of this JavaScript, and I'm like,
totally.
Oh, I'm caching this CSS, and like to a non-coder, they're like, I have no idea what you're saying, and to a coder, you're like, it's not the most complicated thing in the world, but it helps you understand like how to do other stuff on the site. Yeah,
literally Google Site Speed. I think that's the name of the tool. If you just Google Site Speed,
it'll pop up.
Whatever that tool is called, it will give you an audit of your site, and it will tell you how quick the site is on mobile and on desktop, and it will give you a report, and that report is really a comment on the code. And so, if you can read that and help prioritize that, that's been really useful for me in communicating how to get the site quicker, which in turn makes the content, people click on it more. People like it more.
And just user experience, especially everything being on a phone these days. If you have a slow site, people are just going to leave because they're annoyed by it. I do it all the time. So just for a personal experience, it's like make it fast, and the benefits will come for sure, either through ranking or through just people enjoying your content more.
I want to talk a little bit more about the content before we finish up here, because again, I've just seen you launch so many experiments on everything from Facebook ads to I don't even know what, like all different kind of YouTube and all these different platforms. I feel like you're always running experiments.
I think the important thing about content marketing is that things are always changing. Like that's why I'm always running tests. And so because like changing like every 6 months, where something that can make a business literally can just totally change like very quickly. And like this year in New York media, I think it's been a really and media in general, I'm just more familiar with New York, where like a lot of companies have had a really hard time because their core strategy didn't work out, or they thought it would be great a year ago and they went all in, and then it was like, oh, Facebook is not going to be great for driving traffic organically, and then your whole traffic source dries up. So you have to be a successful content marketer, you have to always be experimenting and doubling down on what works, but also growing and not becoming dependent on it, if that makes sense. So like for us, like SEO is probably our biggest traffic driver. And that's a whole different world in itself, where like Google's going to for sure be around. I mean, you know, people always say, oh, Google's over or whatever, but it's going to be a big driver of traffic for the foreseeable future. How much traffic and like how the algorithm works and that, you know, where you rank, it's always dependent on different factors and we always fluctuate. But like Google's one where we spend a lot of time on. YouTube's one where we spend a lot of time on. It's my favorite place to drive traffic just because it has the opportunity to be such a growth engine, but people don't focus on it as much. It's like more the Wild West over there. So if you're really good on YouTube, it's, in my opinion, the easiest place to build a media brand right now. I've left out a bunch of other stuff that I know might work for other people, but it's like, you know, Snapchat could be great. I know some people that do great on Snapchat, but a lot of people went all in 2 years ago and now it's not a big thing for them. Or like Facebook organic reach for businesses has totally dropped off, but there are some people that still are pretty good at Facebook. So it's not to say it's not good. It's not good or not bad for everyone, but you really have to understand your audience and where you're reaching them and your competitive advantage as a marketer. And one, not like double down on the things that work for you now and will keep working for you, and keep investigating and trying out new stuff. Like don't try every new shiny object out there. I've definitely spent years of my life doing that, where I was like too far ahead, where it's like, hey, this new app is going nuts. And I like figure it out. And then like 2 months later, like nobody's using it. But you have to always be thinking about like where your audience is going and where you can meet them. And then that's how you build a long-term successful company, I think.
I love that. Well, so with that said, give me one example of a content marketing trend that is working really well right now, and then one that is maybe like not as well, because I imagine there's some people who are still doing something that's maybe like 3 years old and you're like, this doesn't work as well, and people are wasting their time and money doing it.
Yeah, it's always, like I said, it's all about who. So if it's like a local business or like a blogger or a professional site or all of this, like
so it depends.
My answer
on the
might change. It depends.
I see.
Yeah,
it's not for it's not like a one answer for everybody.
There's not, but the classics still work. So if I were like, what should you absolutely have a look at if you have the bandwidth and it makes sense?
Yeah, what should we absolutely do?
Google, email, and YouTube, I think are
those
like
are great answers.
The golden triad.
The golden trinity.
It's like if you can be good at those, and especially weave them where it's like, hey, get Google traffic and get their email address from those visitors, then send people to your YouTube channel with your email, and like you help build all of those together. That's like a really solid foundation where I'm confident like couple of years from now that'll still work, maybe to a varying degree, but
well, then what's one that's like not so hot anymore? You said Snapchat. I think that's pretty obvious that's not hot, but what's like another one that's like not
what's not hot anymore? I mean, Facebook, I don't invest any time or money in.
I mean, we used to do even like Facebook Live. Remember that was
like when we started Barbend, we streamed live events because everyone was like, live is the future of video on Facebook, and then it's just nothing now as far as I can tell.
Do you think a brand needs an Instagram, and do you need to make stories and this kind of stuff? How would you assess whether, let's say you were taking on a new client, maybe not toilets, but like something, I don't know, maybe something has like a yoga site or something like that, like something more general. Do you think that Instagram, how does that play into all this?
Instagram is an interesting one. It definitely has some opportunity, but it's become tough to be successful.
So there's so many people on it.
And there's a lot more noise. Where it's like 4 years ago, you could just quickly grow a really successful account. Now it's like it's really, really tough to grow an account. So it can still be done, but it's not for the casual person. So and like we have Instagram accounts for all of our brands, but some of them have 500, 1,000 followers, like nothing, even though we're getting millions of visitors to the sites. So it's just like you have it, but I don't depend on Instagram for my business in any way, just because
I've seen a lot of people buy followers on Instagram. I mean, maybe, I don't know if you're listening, if you know that, but like you can buy these kind of like bots or fake followers, hike up your numbers. Does that help? Like, or is that?
I think quite the opposite. It's very dangerous.
Yeah. I've heard it's tricky. Yeah.
And
why is that?
Every platform in this way, and like I said, I take the long-term view, where it might help you do something in the next couple months. Like if you're trying to like get some brand to pay you some money and like they see you have 20,000 Instagram followers and can't tell that they aren't engaged with you, like maybe that's useful, but it actually hurts you in the long run, where you can buy all types of things. You can buy massive email lists, you can buy YouTube subscribers, you can buy Instagram followers, you can buy anything, but these people aren't actually going to be engaged with you or your brand. So it's like, one, like it doesn't really matter if no one cares. You know, if you email 10 million people and no one opens it, like who cares if you have 10 million emails, you know? But two, the algorithms have really shifted, where the way to be successful, like let's say on YouTube, is YouTube sees how your subscribers react to like a new video. And so if you have 10,000 fake followers and you post a video, YouTube's going to be like, oh, even your own subscribers hate this video. We're going to bury it.
Oh, right. Because YouTube's looking at, and maybe there's some kind of like equation of like people that subscribe, and then of those people, how many actually watch this stuff.
Right, exactly. And so if you have all these fake followers, it actually hurts you. It's better to have 0 followers than 10,000. Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah. To the extent, if you ever bought followers, I would be like, just start a new account. Like, it's over.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I feel like our YouTube these days is really kind of suffering. And it used to be, I just look at a lot of people. I think we have some pretty good content on there. We've been on there for a while. Like, I'll see people start with coding courses. They'll have like 4 or 5 YouTube videos, and they'll have like 100,000 each. Mm-hmm. And we used to get that back in the day, but now it's definitely kind of like teetered off. And what you're saying is, I'm wondering if maybe we have too many subscribers that subscribed like 7 years, or we're not even that old, 6 years ago, that aren't engaging, or maybe we did do this one thing where we started uploading old courses, like hundreds of videos, because we were like, oh, well, let's just, when we upgrade a course, we'll put all the other stuff out for free because it still works and maybe it'll be helpful to somebody. But I wonder if like we did something to piss off YouTube because we put so much stuff out there, or because it's like over time they're prioritizing new people. Help me out, Kenny. What should we do?
Yeah, it's possible. There is definitely, in my opinion, like a rating of your channel that affects it. So if you have a bunch of content on there that nobody likes, that may be dragging you down. I think more, but I've seen your content and it's really good, so I doubt it's like a penalty. But more,
like some of the stuff is really good. I know it's really good.
Yeah.
And it'll be like 1 in 10 will do really well, and then like 9 things will just like nobody will ever see it.
Right.
I don't get it.
I think, well, one, it's always a crapshoot. Like, so a lot of our channels, like, we'll have 2 out of 10 videos will go nuts, and that's why we publish 10 videos, is because
I see.
Because it's always a game in that way.
I see.
And here's how YouTube works. It's kind of interesting. Is you can get views primarily from 2 ways, either from search, where it's like someone's looking for how to code JavaScript and they find your video,
sure, or
just a suggested view, where it's like I'm watching some other video and you see, those YouTube suggestions on the sidebar. Right.
Do you know that 70% of videos on YouTube that are watched come from the suggested videos?
Well, I know it because the data shows it. Where like crazy. You can rank number 1 for some term that like we do and get some good traffic, or you get some suggested views and you'll get like hundreds of thousands of views.
People are mostly watching things that they didn't sit down to watch.
Yeah.
It's insane.
They want to be entertained, and YouTube is built like this. Like, they want you to spend your day on YouTube. Like, that's their goal. Yeah, and so that's
like a whole nother story, which I will go into in another episode. But continue. Yeah.
But that's how the algorithm works. Where it's like, if I'm watching your video and then I end up clicking on this other video about something related or not related or whatever, and then I watch that for 10 minutes, and then I click on something else and watch it, then those videos that, 1, you watch for a while, but 2, like, keep you on YouTube, those are going to be the ones that really are rewarded in the YouTube algorithm. So it's like tough to game for those. Like, that's why you see stuff go viral on YouTube and like go nuts, because if it's like some cool music video, then like anyone might just watch that and like watch it and then stick around YouTube for a while. And so it'll just go nuts and get millions of views really quickly. Whereas some really great learn to code content, you can't just throw that in the sidebar necessarily of YouTube and like get a ton of interaction with it. Mm-hmm. And so I think in coding, there is opportunity for those types of videos that can get suggested views, but you have to be really intentional about building those. And even then, it's not going to be a 10 for 10. It's going to be a 1 for 10, a 2 for 10, that type of thing. Hit rate.
So have patience is what you're saying.
Have patience and be, again, what did I say? Be persistent or patient or whatever I said was my number one rule. Just keep doing it. Like the biggest YouTubers to this day, like they're not even that good in my opinion, and not all of them. Like they're all making cool content, but like in terms of production value or this and that, there are people with millions of subscribers that are just sitting there with an iPhone. With a camera.
Yeah, I think having personality helps. I think consistency. Yeah, if you look at like PewDiePie or I think he's the number one, or usually at one point was the number one. He has a lot of personality and he makes videos literally every day for years.
Yeah, people. That's who's successful on YouTube. Where it's like if I could go back to 2010 and start just a YouTube about anything, like people are into it.
You'd be knitting. You'd be the knitting king of the world.
Yeah, you like that's it, and like
whatever you love.
And like that's my real big thing I'm thinking about now, where I'm like when I'm looking for the next thing, where
what can I don't you do know 10 years from now.
Yeah, it's like, am I going to be making a virtual reality thing like every day for the next 10 years or
You're
whatever?
Like the Steve Martin of content marketing, because he once people used to make fun of him when he learned the banjo back in like whenever the 70s or something when he was starting, and he was like, well, if I just do it for 20 minutes a day for 10 years, he's like, that's a lot of. He'd be like, I'll be really good in 10 years from now. So he just practiced every day, and now he's like super good.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I just love Steve Martin. So anyways, great. This is all really helpful. Two last questions. So what skill should someone be paying attention to right now? I mean, you hire a lot of people. You're, I'd say, at the top of your industry. Is there something you think that's lacking? And it doesn't have to be coding, or it can be, or whatever relating. But like, what is something someone should spend, let's say, the next, like thinking long term, like the next year, like to learn a little bit about over the next year and try to become an expert in? Where is there a lack? What do you see?
In my industry, I think the big thing is really, I don't know what the term would be, but like a content marketer or a hacker or like a director, where it's like understanding. There's one subset of skills where it's like, let me understand what's working, and then there's another set on like, let me execute on it. So we do a ton of video now, like I said. So if I could have someone who could dig through and find like a bunch of successful weightlifting videos and analyze them and have the expertise to go and
analyze them by like looking at them, you mean, not like with code?
Looking at them, look at the stats. There's some tools you can look at to guess,
so a few different things. Okay.
Understand the forces generally, like what's working, like see who's linking to these videos and why. All of these things to like really dig into that, and that's like a great skill set by itself. I think if you can really master that, you're going to be very successful, I think, in marketing. Because you can do that for a brand or a media site or yourself or all these, it's a very, very useful skill to be good at. And then two, to go be able to make that, and like finding, we do a lot of video, like I said, but finding like a full stack video person is pretty tough.
You call it full stack video?
I don't know if that's a real term. I might be taking that.
I like it.
Yeah.
From coding.
So it's
like you can edit it, you can record it, you can like do the whole
motion graphics, have good sound on it. Like,
yeah.
I mean, not to say you're the best motion graphics person or the best.
Just being able to put content out consistently that's somewhat decent quality. So knowing like a little bit of all the skills so that you can kind of like, that's what you're saying.
Right.
Move shit.
Yeah, someone who can do it full stack. And we operate in a startup environment, so someone who can do a lot is always useful. But all those skills I zeroed in on, like if you're at a big company, a bigger company, then like being great at, I think, understanding the forces behind why things are successful. That's ultimate, like why content is successful, other than like, oh, this is good, but like
being able to analyze it.
And like
think critically about.
Yeah, there are tools out there, and I'll throw a few out for people. It's like I use Ahrefs a ton. I love
Ahrefs.
BuzzSumo is a fantastic one that I use a lot.
What's the difference between BuzzSumo and Ahrefs?
So Ahrefs I really use for links.
Okay.
And like SEO trends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like who's linking to this content and a variety of factors around that. BuzzSumo is more of like what content is performing well, and they
like on the internet, or your content on the internet.
Yeah,
just like general content.
And you can dig
in
trends. Yeah, and you can dig in a variety of ways, and they are focused some on SEO, but also on social media as well. And so you can like type in, like deadlift, like a keyword, and in the last year, what was the best article on the internet, like in terms of who had the most shares, who had the most shares on Facebook, who had the most shares on Reddit, like all these things. And they'll show you like the top, in the paid version, I think the top 100 or something. And and you look at that content and you're like, why did this perform so well? And it's always a variety of factors. Well, one, it's probably good content. Why is it good? And then two, who promoted this content? Like maybe it was just like 2 guys that tweeted it out that are super influential. So if you contact them and like, hey, I'm going to make another deadlift video, I'm going to feature you in it, or I'm going to, you tweet it out at least or whatever. And like have that type of mentality where you understand why it was successful and then you figure out how to replicate that force.
Okay.
And then you're going to be successful.
I love it. So Ahrefs, BuzzSumo. I'm going to put these links and all of the links of everything we've talked about in the show notes for this podcast. We'll have a complete transcript. People can go through it because we did give a lot of really good tips and everything. We're going to wrap up there. And I want to thank you for coming on the show today, Ken.
Great to be here.
Where can people find out more about you or things that you're working on?
So go to jack.media is our website. You can see all of our brands there. I'm This Be Kenny on Twitter. That's a good spot to find me as well.
And you have a content marketing podcast.
I do have a podcast. I'm going to bring it up. It's called The Media Mindset.
The Media Mindset.
Yeah, and so we do all the things where I kind of jumbled around today. We'll dive in on various things and within media, and a lot of it New York based, just because we're here and we try to do a lot of it in person. So if you liked any of what you heard today, there's a lot more detail in the media mindset.
The hotness.
The hotness.
All right, and out. All right, I want to thank Kenny for coming on the show. All of the show notes and everything will be at onemonth.com. You can check that out on our blog, as well as dozens of other episodes just like this, talking about people and how they learn to code and what they're doing with it. So hope you enjoyed that. If you would like to take a course with me, if you'd like to learn HTML or CSS or JavaScript or Python, all of these courses and a lot more, as well as a growth hacking course, lots of courses are available, all taught by me and my co-founder at onemonth.com. If you have any questions for me or about the podcast or about the whatever, I don't know, want to know what I'm eating today or what I'm thinking about? I mean, really, do you want to know? Probably not. But if you do, I have an answer for you. teachers@onemonth.com is where you can email and I'll be happy to respond. I hope you're doing well and have a great day. I'll see you in another episode.